That one's so funny too. He's so funny. Pretty good though, isn't it? All right, all right, all right. What are you laughing about? All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Epic Loot Radio. Brian Kirk, and once again, making his second debut, J Dub, talking about video games, especially the heated rumors that have been floating across the internet. Not just this weekend. This weekend, I think everything just went over into full tilt. But we're going to be sitting down today talking about Xbox. Did Phil Spencer lie? I know Kirk has some feelings. I've got some different kind of feelings. The internet is this is just the hot topic. We were planning originally just to be covering Persona 3 and Grand Blue Fantasy for you guys, and maybe we'll get to that if there is time. And if
Welcome
there
back,
isn't, we'll be sure to
YouTube.
just kind of roll that into another podcast for you guys here on Word
All
of the Day.
right, all
Jay,
right.
dude, welcome
My
back,
wife here is
man.
making fun
How
of me.
was your
That's
weekend?
okay.
Oh, my weekend was lovely, sir. You know that. Listen, I had a fantastic weekend, by the way. Been playing some Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on my PlayStation Portal, as I should. Great game. I recommend if you own a PlayStation 5 or a PC, go ahead and pick up that title.
Do we want to just get it? We want to just devote 10 minutes, like tease everybody a little bit, like the drama's coming, like in 10 minutes, and do you guys just want to talk about Grand Blue for a little bit? Because I didn't realize J
Yeah,
Dub was playing
that's
Grand
not.
Blue as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
so
yeah.
guys, so J Dub,
What is it?
sell me on this game?
Helping a little
Like
bit?
why
Maybe, yeah.
why should I go out
Yeah.
and
I
buy
feel like
Grand
she's
Blue
not
right now? Like because
itching
Okay.
as
everybody
much, I
loves this
guess.
game. It's like top 3 best selling on Steam right now. I
Oh,
mean,
it's
it's a
great.
True.
big
Yeah.
deal.
Well, I can tell you. I can tell you this. For one, it's multiplayer. You can get your friends to jump in and join in. For two, the art style is very beautiful. It's in the likes of some of the other games that you've seen, but mostly like Zelda and things like that. The combat is, I mean, it's epic. Once you use some of your special moves, you can combine them with some of your friends' moves and to destroy these big
Zero.
behemoths. I mean, you can look
Really.
at the background now and
Okay.
see some of the characters you're going to have to fight in battle. And this game is no pushover. It's not, it's not easy. It's not hard. It's just really up to you and your skills and knowing when to dodge, when to parry, and everything else. This game doesn't reinvent the wheel with anything, but what it does, it has a freaking great story to go along with it, and the fact that you can play with your friends, I mean, that's always a plus. I mean, it's a great RPG. I mean, it's everything that I was looking forward to just from the original trailer that we saw when we first seen. I think they showed this back in 2020. I think back in 2020, 2021 was when they
Um,
showed the trailer. And I was like, that game looks like it's going to be epic. And I had my eye on this game. And sure enough, it came
I
out.
think one,
And the
two,
demo,
three,
thank
four,
God for the demo
five,
because that demo
six.
really sold this game on a lot of people. For a lot
Mhm.
of people that were on the
Okay.
fences and stuff like that,
All right.
I'm
It's
a
been a minute
firm
since I've
believer
been
in
here, so
demos.
we'll figure it out
We got a
as we
demo
go.
for Final Fantasy 16, and for and for spoken and stuff like that. Even
Uh,
if you're not interested in the game, at
what am
least
I
you got to
missing?
try it.
I
At
gotta.
least you have an actual, hey, I like this, or this is not my type of game. I'm a
All right. I
firm
don't need.
believer
I
in
don't think I
demos.
need
They gave us
that.
this demo
I'll
and
do the
it was
corruption
epic.
here.
I put in
Burn.
hours into that
Go
demo
ahead
and
and
I couldn't wait for the game to
use.
unlock. So I
So
pre-ordered
it
it
I
instantly.
Okay.
I
would
was going to follow this
And
up
then
with
I'll go
Kirk for just
ahead
1 second with a
and
question. Like, do you feel like this is the best
use
version of
that.
Final Fantasy 16 on the market right now?
Use that.
No, I
Okay.
mean, no, I wouldn't say
Get
that.
my pets
Listen,
out too.
Final Fantasy 16, I believe it stands on
All
its
right.
own as being a great game.
and
I
you don't
believe it
have
stands
any
on
of
its.
the
I don't have.
story
I
beats
shouldn't have to.
either.
I shouldn't have. Final Fantasy 16 doesn't need justification for
Mhm.
its being. It is a great
Whoa.
game any day of the week. It's a solid 85. It was my game of the year for last year, my personal game of the year. This game here is a parallel. I would say it's a parallel, but a lot of people are this is this will be their first Grand Blue Fantasy game,
Mhm.
right? So if you're fresh into the franchise, you never played the fighting game that came out previously, and you never played any of the previous versions, you can pick this game with not knowing absolutely nothing. Pick it up and go on your merry way and have a great time. I believe this game is going to be in the GOTY contention. Now, I know we're early in the year, and a lot of people say it's too early to talk about GOTYs and stuff like that. We still got a bunch of games to go, but the Metacritic score on it is high. It's well received across PC and PlayStation. I don't see anything negative about this game.
No, this game's fantastic. The reason I brought up Final Fantasy 16 is I've seen a lot of online chatter regarding kind of the
All right. Once
combat
I get
and the
these
fact
going,
that
then
you
we'll be
have
good to
like a
go.
party of players rather than just Clive and and
Yeah,
have no connection to what else is going on. And it's like because I agree. Like I've having played Final Fantasy 16, I adored that game. It was everything that I was hoping it would be. And then this in and of itself is like if you like 16, I think you're really gonna love Grand Blue. And if you didn't like 16, I think you're really gonna love Grand Blue. Like it doesn't split the audience in
yeah,
this regards like 16
Okay.
definitely
Now we should be
because
good to go.
it also 16 going into it has a lot of history, a lot of people who want just the turn based, a lot of people who want to
yep,
see them expand. And so I think this is one of the things like this is like I had no preconceived expectations or notions. This is my first Gray Blue, but I've been following this game since it was announced because like, oh, that looks
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yes, and they knocked it out of the park. They knocked this one out of the park. Kirk, you were going to say something earlier.
Oh, I was gonna ask, like J Dub and Ginger, you can weigh in on this, but can you help me out? Like, understand what is this game? Like, is it a Final Fantasy 16? Is it a Genshin Impact? Is it a Monster Hunter World? I mean, I know you're probably gonna say like it's all of the above. Is it a Tales of Arise? I mean, to say it's all of the above doesn't really give a
It,
depiction of like what it is for somebody who is unfamiliar with this franchise and hasn't dived into the demo. So can you describe like the
yeah.
specific experience that like Grand Blue is giving you as a game that you may not get somewhere else or is comparable somewhere else?
It's a Tales of Arise meets Devil May Cry, may meet one or two other games. It's a
I've seen a
combination,
lot of
and
Monster Hunter
it's
comparisons as
Yeah.
well.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll be
What
honest,
happened?
it's
Did you get
hard
injured?
to. We play so many games, right?
Oh,
And
really?
and our hearts are
It's a
so
pretty.
stuck on this is my favorite game or that's my favorite game or this and that, and so I
Oh,
try not to make the comparisons because
yeah.
once you mention a game, then
Yikes.
a person either they're turned off or either they're turned on. You're like, "Ooh, I love this game," or like, for example, if they hated Final Fantasy 16, you say, "Hey, it's like Final Fantasy 16." They were like, "Nah, it's not." So
Yeah.
that's why I don't like throwing the other games out there. This game again can stand on its own, but I would say it's a mixture of Devil May Cry and Tales of Arise, and even a little bit of Zelda
Hmm.
in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I see a lot of Genshin and Monster
yeah,
Hunter.
Well,
because of the
Genshin is
art
naturally
style,
the
because of the
Genshin's
art
gonna get that art
style, but
style.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, and the characters, like we talked about this
yeah,
Luke is
last
a
week,
big boy.
Brian, like with the fact that it's using that kind of you're trying to unlock characters style of gameplay that like that
Oh,
compels you, pulls you, and
oh,
motivates you.
got a
Oh,
flame.
I gotta
Nice.
grind more on the game so I can unlock these additional characters and play as them. That Hoyo versus games get you with, but that's more incentivizing you to play and play and play and play, and then you
grind,
don't
yeah,
get the character that you want, so you drop 20 or 50 or however many dollars
yeah,
to get roles and get that character. This game is providing that grind and that motivation system, but it
yeah.
doesn't have the pay structure. It doesn't have any microtransactions as far as I
Well,
know.
and
So
it's a
that's really
story,
cool.
yeah, and it's really a story focused game.
Okay.
And so I would say it's a story that is going to, of course, the combat and the creatures and everything else, but it's the story that's going to kind of pull you in a little bit more than some of those other games. And I know people look at the art style and it's like, oh, it's just like you said, like the Hoyoverse and some of the other free to
Mhm.
play games, and it's like, ah, well, people can get easily turned off by stuff like that. And that's unfortunate. I hate when people are turned off by just comparisons and things like that. But I think, you're asking me, someone who's never played a a game like this, well, why should I go out and spend X amount of dollars to play this game? Well, if you're into RPGs and if you're into action games, if you're into games with a
Yeah, this
great
is so much
story
better
that's gonna,
than
bring you
uh
in.
This beautifully well voiced,
where I was
well
just at.
animated,
Yes.
Where was that?
well
Where was
paced,
that? Dark Secret's treat.
and I kind
Jeez,
of
losing
feel
my
like it's
mind.
funny. Like the kid in me was like, you could take like 10 hours to beat the main story, and then there's like a secondary kind of story chapter that happens after that. But the adult in me, with with as busy as I am, I'm like 10 hours, man. That all right, I can commit to that,
Yeah.
and then what it does is then I get addicted,
Yep.
and then I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go and play. And oh, by the way, here's this multiplayer component so you can play with your friends.
Yeah.
And those fights, as we saw already in
Or
some of the
epic.
game footage, for
Or
those of
epic.
you watching the video footage and not on the audio, but you guys are listening to the audio, thank you so much for being here. You are amazing. It is so much fun. And I'm just like, I can't wait to go back in. And it lets you play, and it gives you options. Like you can choose to have your party balanced out and level synced. Or if you just want to like melt things down, which is one of the things we did. I have my friend Chili, who's a friend of the podcast, comes on from time to time. He is overpowered, and we were just going through and just absolutely having a blast. And I was like, "This is fun.
Yeah,
This
like
is what
all
gaming's
three of
about."
us could play this game, and we could just have a blast. I mean,
Yeah.
just partnering up and taking on
Yeah, I
each
wanted
other.
to ask you guys, like, how is the
Gosh, it's been
multiplayer?
so
Is
long
it
since I've
very
been to
drop in,
Ogres.
drop out? Like, how does it work? How do you queue up for missions?
So
Do you need to
long.
link up in like in this hub area that we're
It's
seeing
kind
on
of weird
screen
doing
Yeah,
now?
this
Like,
in the
how does
Marnie
all that
zone.
work?
basically
It,
you go to the
I
basically you
kind of
go
like
to
it
the hub
though because it
area,
makes it
right?
really
Which is like
short.
a little
You used to have to
market
go
where you
here
can
all the way over
go
there,
and
but because
enable
they
and
spawn so
receive your
much
invites,
faster.
and that's it.
Now,
No,
this
no,
also multiplayer fixes the problems that I had with Monster Hunter
Monster
World.
Hunter. Yes,
Yeah, because I
yes,
was
yes.
like, you would get into hey, are you on my server? And I can't see you. This one is like, no, we're together. We're in a party. I can see you. We can actually communicate with emotes and little stickers and even chat in text if
Yeah,
we need. And then we could just queue up for the mission. So it is a separate kind of thing, but it's like it is just built into the world. You just say, go online and say, hey, I'm going to invite my friends, or I want to get match made into a group. And the best thing about this is all is that, let's say you want to play with your friends, but you don't want to play with randos. You and your friend will then take in two of the bots.
yeah.
So you still
You
have
just
a 4-man group, and it's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
It does everything I wish Final Fantasy 14
yeah.
would do with their trust system.
I never understood why a lot of the Japanese games, their invite system is so convoluted and difficult. I never understood that. Even like if you play games like Demon Souls, some of those games, it's just really kind of difficult. Of like, listen, I just want to play with my friends. Why do I have to go
Just
through
let
this
me play with
complicated
my
thing
friends.
to this? It's almost like a ritual just to get people to jump in. There should be a central place we could just go, click there, and say, "Hey, I want to play with my friends." Select my friends that are online, and just move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I really hope that Monster Hunter Wilds draws inspiration from how Genshin handles
Yeah,
their multiplayer.
yeah. That's a day one
Yeah,
game for me. I love Monster
I
Hunter,
saw that.
Monster Hunter
That'd be
World.
another night,
I
baby.
think this game, since it's going to be a next generation game and it's going to utilize the power and stuff of the current gen consoles, for one, I hope it's mandatory 60 frames a second. I
Oh
hope
yeah.
that base and I hope, of course, the graphics have a huge overhaul. I hope it's not just it looks just like the Monster Hunter World. I hope they really go in with the next generation features and stuff like that.
I agree. Kirk, do you have any other follow up questions, or is there anything? Because I cannot recommend Blue enough. Like, I am in a this is a must own game, whether you're on PC or on console. The one weakness that I do hope gets corrected with time is no crossplay with PC. And to see PC doing so well, that was a concern I had because this isn't a known IP, and
Yeah,
to see over 100,000 people concurrent on the PC version makes it say like, yeah, you're not going to be worried about not being able to find people to play with,
yeah,
which is good. But in the long term health of it, it should just be like, just play where just let
yeah.
you play together. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's number one in there. It's number one in the EU last week, I believe. From what I saw on Twitter, it was number one in the EU. We haven't. I will see once NPD comes out where it charts on PlayStation here in the United States. But I think
Mhm.
this game is going to do well. Again, I don't think it's going to do like Spider Man or God of War numbers, but I mean, if they can hit a million or two for a brand new IP that's kind of new to the bigger market, I can see that being a huge success.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, stuff like that leads to sequels. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, side games is pretty small, right? So it's a
Yeah.
good story for them to
Yep.
sort of get bridge over from mobile and have what looks like a really polished experience. I'm really happy to see that
Mm,
available for people on PC and console. And it's unfortunate it's not on Xbox, which might be a lead into our next topic. But yeah, no, this seems like a win for everybody. I mean, I love seeing like these niche type of games, like the Tales series, like the Trails series,
yeah.
Ease, stuff like that, Atelier, like those games getting more attention, I think is only good for the industry because, there's people that put a lot of work into those games and they do get sort of unnoticed a lot of times in the West. So I'm all for those games getting a lot more recognition. And this one's weird. I think it's like a timing thing. Like I think they did really well as far as getting this out in late January. It seems like a lot of games are getting the spotlight right now. So good on them. I kind of am a little bit salty that it stole the spotlight from my boy Ichiban and Infinite Wealth, but that game definitely got its flowers. And
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like it's Grand Blue's time in the sun, and it also looks like it's well deserved. So
Yeah.
props to
Well,
that
I'm
studio.
glad you brought up Side Games because I'm glad this game is doing well because they have a game that's in development, or I hope it's still in development, called Project Awakening. That's a supposed to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive that they announced back on the PS4, and those guys been tweeting about it for quite some
Not
time,
sure
and I
how well I'm
want
doing
that
with my
game to
trash
come
right
out. And it
now.
was the one with the knight fighting the dragon, and it looked like ultra realistic. And I wonder, why did that game fall off the radar? We hadn't heard anything from it, and then they finally
Oh,
said,
you're talking
"Hey,
about Deep Down? Was that them?
no." Well, a lot of people said that it was Deep Down, but Deep Down was by Capcom.
Okay.
But the
Let me
game
go
is
turn my trash
reminiscent
in here
of
real
Deep
quick.
Down, yes. But it was
Okay.
the Project Awakening. The guy was walking on the cliffs, and the dragon. He was fighting the dragon, and again, it looked realistic. It was a next generation looking game. They finally announced that they've moved it from PS4 to PS5, and here we are. I'm still waiting to. So hopefully, now that this game has come out, they can start saying, "Hey, this is when we're gonna release, this game here." And I know there's small team, small development people, but you know.
So I guess final thoughts, both of you. If you had to put a score out of 10 on the game, what would you give it? And then also, what do you think its odds are for being nominated for RPG of the year? And then also, I mean, what do you how do you think it shapes up against something like Final Fantasy Rebirth? And I know Brian, you're probably less familiar with it than Jada and I are, but Infinite Wealth, which is
Mhm.
done gangbusters across the board as far as the critical reception. Everybody seems to be absolutely in love with that game. So yeah, I'm curious to know
Boom,
like
boom,
your
boom.
sort of verdict on the game
I
and
wish
where
I
you
could
think
stay
it's
this
going to
fast the
fall
entire
as
time.
far as critical reception.
9 out of 10. Unfortunately, I think it's going to fall off the radar a little bit because it's the first of the year, and all games in the beginning,
Yeah.
people forget about them because there's more and more games. People are going to keep talking about the successive games. I think it'll be there. It'll be in the running for RPG of the year. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's a shoe in for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That is going to be not only the RPG of the year, but it's more than likely going to be the game of the year, unless PlayStation decides to drop something that they hadn't announced yet out there that just kind of takes everybody's mind away. So I mean, I don't know. When is Monster Hunter? Monster Hunter's come
2025.
out. Okay,
Monster
next
Hunter
year.
Wilds 2025. That's
Yeah,
next year. The and Dragon's Dogma 2 is also in March. So this
yeah,
this is going to be a big
yeah.
this is
It's
a
the
big
big
year of
year
good
for RPGs.
competition.
Yeah,
And honestly, I'm all for it. Like
yeah.
this is going to be
Let
great.
them
I
compete.
go ahead.
Let them compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Let
I
them
think we all
compete.
win when
Yep.
they're all competing
Absolutely.
for us. The I think to answer the question about score, I struggle with score because I find the numbers like people get weird about it. So like I fall into the buy. This is an own must own game and it's not even a full price game.
Yeah,
It starts at $60 and that's actually something really surprising that they did because I think people have been conditioned to the $70 aspect. So when it comes down to all of that, yes. But if you're going to have to put a score on it, like I'd say 9.5. Like this is an amazing game, an amazing experience. And like even Chili in chat was saying, like rather than a sequel, he'd rather them put more content into this game. And that is something would be really interesting to see. A non's game as a service game have features that are something like a games as a service where it's like every couple years maybe or there's a new chapter that you can play and play through the story and you got your characters and they're just going to let you be overpowered as all get out. I'm all for that as an option as well, so it's just really fantastic. And late to the game hitting the membership over on YouTube, thank you so much for that support, guys. I really appreciate you doing that, dude. If we make the content for free, and I'm just glad that you guys get some value out of it. All right, Kirk, is there anything else that you want to talk about Grand Blue? Because there is also big drama
No,
news.
I think that covers it for Grand Blue probably.
Mm, mm.
All right, well, I'm going to keep the gameplay
Hey, let's
going
give
because
the
it's just
people
that
what they
pretty.
want. Let's give the people what they want.
Why are they here? Jay, how was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was fantabulous.
Oh my god. Christ.
I got vindicated on a lot of things. A lot of people, had to go out and delete some tweets, even though I keep receipts. It's just been a great weekend. But I think the bigger thing in my weekend was finding out that my preferred console platform could be getting a boatload of Xbox games.
hmm Yeah,
And
not just
not
one or
just
two.
yeah, and not just one and two, but we're talking the whole slate. And I have a list here if you want me to give the list of games that are being considered to be
Yeah,
either in the
give us the
process.
list. Give us the list because it's not like going to take 30 minutes to do
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
it's yeah.
No, this is Indiana Jones,
hmm
Starfield, Doom Year Zero, which is their new coming game. Hi-Fi Rush, of course. We kind of talked about that previously. Sea of Thieves, Flight Simulator, Halo Infinite,
Yeah.
Halo Master Chief Collection, The Pentiment, Grounded, Gears of War series, and Hellblade 2. So this is a combination of some older titles, some newer titles, and titles that we literally have release dates for. Guys, this is not a nothing burger. Where there's smoke, there's fire. We kind of heard the rumblings with Hi-Fi Rush and As Dust Falls, but Jesus, every day, every 30 minutes, I'm getting up-to-date lists and more information. And now it's like literally every insider, every journalist, every all the who of who's on Twitter is confirming a lot of this stuff. And so I'm dumbfounded at the moment. Of course, I thought I would brag, gloat, and be happy and yada, yada, yada. But I was talking to a good friend of mine, Post Up, shout out to Post Up, earlier. I'm not necessarily happy as I thought I would be, as
Hmm.
being a fanboy of Twitter and the antagonizer in chief. But there's a little bit of sadness there. There's also a little bit of
It's kind of like when the Lakers, like the Lakers Celtics rivalry, the Lakers just got real bad
Yeah.
And like all the the Celtics fans, they were like happy for a little bit,
Yeah.
but then they realized, oh, like
This is our
we're not
future.
gonna sit like we're not going like it's not
Yeah.
gonna be a big deal when we play them anymore. And
Yeah.
there's kind of like that sadness when you realize, oh, that rivalry just kind of it's not gonna exist
Like it's
anymore
it. Like
because there is a
this is it,
pageantry
guys.
to it.
Yeah.
There's
It
something
is.
special about it, and when you see a competitor like that you've been dunking on, you've been trashing on, but really in your heart like you had a lot of respect for because like
Absolutely.
all the controversy and all the conflict that was sort of engaging and riveting to be a part of is going to fall away because they're not comparable and a worthy competitor anymore. Like it is sad to see that. I think for a lot of the play, like I've seen pretty much just sympathy from
Yeah.
PlayStation people out there. Like I really haven't seen like there's been a few
Sympathy.
people that are like, rubbing it in and stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean you got guys like Puerto Rock, guys like Nicola and some
Yeah.
other guys that are just like, I mean they're just like this sucks, dude. Like
Yeah.
this sucks for y'all.
Well, because
And
because we're gamers and we all own PlayStations. I mean, in Xboxes, right? But, as much as
Yeah, yeah,
trash,
and we
that
own both
I talk,
usually.
I have a gang load of Xboxes, and everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
And so they see me playing the games that other Xbox dudes don't want to play, right? Like the Sea of Thieves, the Hi-Fi Rushes. No, not Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sorry, the Bleeding Edges and the Battletoads, and a lot of the lower Metacritic score games, but I do give them a fair shake and I stream them to see, if is it worth it. Before I crap on this game, let me actually play it for myself, instead of taking somebody else's opinion for it. But yeah, it is kind of somber, and it's not just because the console war is over, but it's really. I actually thought, and I can't speak on anyone else. I actually thought that them spending $100 billion on Activision Blizzard was going to it was going to reinvigorate the brand. It was really going to, give a big morale and huge injection of, I guess, pizzazz in the console space that would allow me, hey, I'm going to be getting these brand new games on my Xbox, and then I got my PlayStation to give me this, and we're back to competing, right? Even Peter Moore said the console war was great for gaming because it actually caused
Yeah.
gamers to get off the couch and engage and talk and spread the word. So I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you're just a fanboy and you're just rah rah," but guess what? Word of mouth is everything. We just got through talking about Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. There's somebody watching who's never heard about that game, and now they may go check that out, right? That's Microsoft and Sony couldn't buy that type of advertisement. And so we go and tell our friends and our family and everything else. Just, it's just, I don't know, man. I felt like, why would you, the time that Microsoft, if they were going to give up, they should have gave up last generation when everything was down. Why would you wait to
Yeah.
wait till you get all the stuff, right? You have like the biggest you have the biggest IP in the world. You literally own the biggest IP in the world. You literally own several of the biggest IPs in the world. You own World of Warcraft. You own Candy Crush. I mean, you own all of this stuff, and this stuff it should have a
Candy
Xbox
Crush still a
only
thing?
logo stamped all over it, and they decided, eh, give it to
Oh,
Nintendo and,
jeez.
and PlayStation. And I feel like, man, I do feel sad for my Xbox brothers across the aisle. I do feel sad for them because they have dedicated their time, their lives,
See, I
and
like
their
the Xbox
money
controller better.
Money.
with repping this brand, and the brand is no longer the brand that it once was.
It hasn't been that for 10
It
years,
hadn't
though.
been that for it. Yeah, just true.
It hasn't been that for 10 years. This has been the destination, right? And it's
But
been
they
it might not
no.
have been understood by everybody. I 10 years
Ginger,
ago
you're so wrong about this, and that's why everybody disagrees with you online. You were in a
you can
Twitter space
disagree with
earlier, and
me all day
nobody
long.
agreed with
It
you.
doesn't make me wrong. I have been telling this, and this has been happening for 10 years, and I've been told I've been wrong and continually getting proven right. It's not saying that I wanted this originally, but I grieved 10 years ago. Y'all are all in where I was 10 years ago. I have a head start. It means that I need to bring that integrity and tell you guys the truth, not what you want to hear, Kirk.
But
No,
we were
I
told.
know that. What I'm saying is that there's a difference between your mentality of knowing that this was going to happen and not believing what was being publicly stated in very forward facing presentation type of ways by Xbox executives and by their public relations department and at these showcases, at the showcase that they did after the Bethesda purchase, where they directly stated that the purchase was about bringing exclusive games to the Xbox platform. When they bought Ninja Theory and they bought Double Fine and all these other studios, talking about how their plan was to bring Xbox exclusive games to the platform to justify that platform's existence. I'm fine with you saying that you were saying, "Hey, this is not what's really happening. Like they're gonna go third party, or it's not in the box, right? That's not what they're invested in. They're invested in a larger ecosystem."
Right.
I'm fine with you saying that you were championing that the entire time and
Not
that you
championing
predicted
it,
this,
just not just
predicted
communicating
the
it,
outcome at least, trying
because
to.
people would hear that, and the thing I've been critical of them is in the marketing, and this is where it's like it's been weirdly vague, because you're right, the concept of exclusive, what does that even mean anymore? As soon as they went day in date with PC, that word does not mean what it used to mean, and I still think of it as, what does it mean? There's no reason to buy an Xbox, and there hasn't been. And so this movement isn't about me championing it one way or the other. I'm actually very neutral on it, because it's there's going to be good things that happen, and there's probably going to be some bad things that happen because of it. It's just what is happening, and I feel compelled, algorithmically suicidal, because people will be like, "This guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about." Turns out he does.
You do know what you're talking about. What
Yeah.
I'm trying to convey to you is that foreseeability of a negative outcome does not excuse the outcome. Like you are saying that it was foreseeable, it was predictable. This is where you saw the Xbox brand and their business strategy going this entire time. I
Yes.
commend you for that. I applaud your foresight in that regard. In no way am I taking away from that. In no way am I not trying to give you credit for predicting that this would happen. I think a month ago and 3 months ago we hedged on this conversation, and I said no way and you said yes. So I was wrong and you were right. A lot of people were wrong and you were right.
Hold
What
on.
I'm trying to say is
I'll take my
there's
Pat on
it's
that.
like somebody clipped that. There's a difference between that conversation. I don't think nobody at least has a right to say that that's not true. What I just went over. There's a difference between that and then understanding that the foreseeability of a negative outcome, an outcome that has an adverse effect on the community, on those that invested in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
The foreseeability does not excuse the outcome itself or the people that brought it about.
I agree.
And if Xbox
Yeah.
is going to go out there and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is why you should invest in our ecosystem." Not only that, they said it before the launch of their console.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
they said they were
Right.
buying Bethesda
Yeah.
to improve the Xbox and to improve that ecosystem, and that's why you should buy in. I
That's why
really
I
bought
agree
in.
with everybody who's upset. Like, I understand that upsetness. I just don't share in it emotionally, because I had that happened to me 10 years ago.
Well, it makes
So-
you come off like an apologist. It really does.
Well, I can't help that. I have to say
You cannot do that, but you're
Yeah,
choosing to
can-
do that.
I could choose to lie to people. Yes, I can. I choose not.
No, we just want you to call them out for causing a negative outcome to all of us.
I have said that I understand, and it is perfectly reasonable to feel and mad, and that reaction is a very natural reaction. I don't know how to state it another way.
I think it's getting lost in the sauce. But if
Well,
you really do,
that's
if
my
you-
Lost in
brain.
the
That's
sauce.
my brain.
I like
Getting
that.
lost in the sauce is that sounds perfect for me. Jay, you're gonna say
put,
something.
put it on the box. Put it on the box. Ginger Prime gets lost in the sauce.
Lost in the
baby.
sauce.
See, listen,
I like
I
that.
get what Ginger is saying, but Ginger, you understand, but you also don't realize how you, as well as I and as well as Kurt, have invested a lot of money
Mhm.
in this platform, and we were promised things, and those promises have recently changed. It didn't
Well, it's a
happen 10
promise.
years
It's not
ago.
like
It
Right.
happened
it's in
recently.
contract.
For whatever reason, even in their statement that kind of came out, their change of strategy.
Right.
Satya
That's all
Nadella
it is. It's
said
a
it.
promise.
Tim Stewart
Can always
said it.
change.
Very clear.
Very clear. This is
Yeah.
a change of strategy. So you sold us, right, on the promise of something, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z and give us our exclusives and do this, and you're going out. You had people parading, watching freaking C-SPAN, right, for days on end. You had people arguing with politicians on stuff. You really riled up the crowd, and this crowd that you riled up, now you tell them there's really no benefit for them, but the people who didn't want that deal to go through get all the glory and get all the benefits. And that is a big fu, and it's going to be interesting to see how Phil, Satya, whoever comes out, Sarah Bun, whoever comes out.
It's got to be Phil, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
It can't be Sarah, not this month, right, Jay?
it better not. It better
It
not.
better not be.
I'm gonna hold the line for her. I'm gonna hold the line for her because
I
she's the
agree.
newbie. She's the newbie. She has no, it's not, no. She didn't cause this problem, so she
Yeah.
shouldn't take the brunt and the feedback that's going to come from the fan base, the
The
diehard
brunt,
fan base.
though, and this could be a perfect time for Phil Spencer to exit, is to take that brunt, hand it off, and here, and like to Sarah, and then the system goes forward. I think
Now,
that
The other
that
thing
Crystal
too is
Lamb,
if he leaves, he can say this was not my call.
yeah,
If he's got to stay,
yeah,
he's got to do the march in tow of Xbox. This is our plan. We're moving forward. Whatever. If he resigns, he can say
he resigned.
this is not what I
That's a
thought
saving
would
grace.
come to pass.
That's
Yeah.
a saving grace. That says, this is not my plan. This is not what I want. I was fighting for the gamer. This is what it was promised. And I'm a man. I stick by my word, X, Y, and Z.
He should do it. Jim's going out with his golden handcuffs, go on some island somewhere.
But you
Phil
know
should
what?
do it too.
I said this, and I'm on record for saying this. I said, what if, because we don't know, right behind the scenes, what if, because Jim Ryan, like
It's
right
an
after the
interesting
deal went
topic.
through, Jim Ryan decided to retire. And I said, what
yeah,
if, and I know guys said he was fired, but we'll come to find out he's not fired. They threw him a party and everything else. He's still running the company until April. But
he's let the man retire. That's a good thing. He did
listen,
a good job.
Sean Layden retired on top. He said, listen, I travel, I did all this stuff. I did my decade of fighting the good fight for this console. It was number one. We meet expectation. Jim Ryan had did the exact same thing. Plus, Jim Ryan said, listen, I have to be awake
All
for
right,
three
this
different
place is
time zones. I have to
actually
travel for
pretty
three different
good.
time zones, right? I got to be in Japan. I got to be in California. Then I got to be back at home in the UK. I just, I'm old now. I'm tired. I did the company's in great hands. It's making more money than it ever has. PlayStation 5 is super exceeding the previous generation. It's doing everything. The competition, and I said this, what if the competition has said, without saying it publicly, that, hey, listen, we want this deal because we're going to become a third party publisher. We no longer want to compete with you. We'll be pulling out of the console space. So there is no more reason for you to object this. And what if they made that deal and said, okay, and they, and they like, hey, well, you're gonna get all our games. So what is there? There's no reason you should keep fighting this. And so Jim Ryan was like, okay, we'll if that's the plan, we'll no longer fight it. And then all of a sudden, Phil and them start saying, hey, we're gonna put our games on
Yeah.
GFN. We're gonna put our, we cutting deals with Nintendo. And so they just started putting deals everywhere. They cut it everywhere. And I was thinking about it. I was like, is this just him just cutting fake deals and later he's going to retract? And now we fast
Mm.
forward today. He meant business. He stood
Yeah.
on business. When he said everything,
So many people, so many people were really pissed at me because I didn't have an issue with Microsoft and the ABK deal. They're like, "You're anti-gamer." It's like, no, they're gonna put these games everywhere. Like,
yeah,
this is what they're signaling.
Which
This is
that
the
would have been
direction they're going.
fine, Brian, if it was just Activision. We talked about that
yeah.
a month
We didn't know
ago
the
and
whole
said that
slate.
that was
We didn't know
fine.
the whole slate.
If they're just putting Call of Duty everywhere, they promised in court they do that.
Yeah.
People forget Phil literally swore under oath that they would put Diablo everywhere.
Mhm.
Diablo 4, Diablo 5, whatever.
And you know
So
what
like
also happened
we
under oath?
knew that.
Yeah. You know what also happened under oath, which will be really interesting because I don't see them getting out of making consoles, but we know that the console is a lost leader and you make it up on game sales and you have to have a big volume of it. I
Yeah,
could see this being something where it actually tricks up an
that'd be
antitrust
that would be
case in the future.
crazy.
And I talked to Hogue Law about this because at some point, let's say
That
PlayStation is a
Xbox
one
doesn't make
console
another console.
monopoly and Xbox still has their platform, just like Xbox in the 90s supporting Apple so that they didn't get hit by antitrust. I could see something where it could end up being a massive legal power play. It's a gamble, but a massive legal power play to get PlayStation games publishing over on Xbox. And that the term exclusivity evolves into what means just timed exclusive. Play this game
They
first
they
on
don't.
PlayStation, play
We
this
need
game first on Xbox.
We need
Go
to
ahead.
have a come to Jesus moment right now on this show.
Okay.
I think we all need to hold hands, right? We all need to have a come to Jesus moment. The console is going away. They no longer care about the console.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going away. Less and
But
less people will buy this next iteration of the console,
mhm.
the
I didn't
refresh.
even buy the new console,
More less and less
but I
people are
could
going to
never get a
buy
hold
the
of it.
Xbox Series X and S right now. As of today, less and less people have no reason to buy it. Why
Because
would
they
they?
did this.
That's
That's why.
they.
They were always doing this. Like
Yo,
you
look,
know.
look.
Go ahead. Go. Yeah.
Cause
Go ahead.
I've lost the chat, so I wanna address the chat. Cause I look, I get it. There's two sides to this issue, and then there's whatever side Ginger's on. He's on his own island doing his own thing, where he predicted
It,
this 10 years
it's
ago, and
called the
that's
truth.
fine.
It's just
That's
called like
fine.
I have a weird brain, and it compels me to tell people
No,
what's happening, and they get mad
Nostradamus
at me
over
for it.
here.
Dude, nobody likes the prophet, man, and it sucks because I'm like, fuck. Excuse my language. Oh, I can't, and I have to
In
talk, and
any
then
case,
yeah, go ahead.
the idea that games that were unavailable for other people going somewhere else, them being able to play it, being bad, and people being angry about that. Yes, that's dumb. I understand that. That is dumb. I agree that that's dumb. I am happy that people that do not own an Xbox or a PC will be able to play Starfield. I genuinely am. That is separate
I
from
predicted
something
it.
else
I
something else that
predicted
we're
it.
talking about. So no, in no way am I grabbing a pitchfork and saying, "Oh, I don't want PlayStation gamers to be able to play Starfield." No, no, no. I'm happy for that. And that's not what it's about for me. And I think that the community gets a bad rap because that's kind of the perception is that oh, Xbox people just hate it when PlayStation people get to play their games and vice versa. I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of gatekeeping gamers from games. However, the fact of the matter is, and Satya Nadella addressed this in court, is that PlayStation, as part of their business practices, keeps games on the console, whether they're first party or they sign deals, like with Square Enix for the Final Fantasy VII trilogy and for Final Fantasy 15. That's something that happens. So, in order to be competitive over the last 5 or more years, Xbox has needed to have exclusives. And they acknowledge that publicly. And they bought Bethesda to address that publicly and then acknowledge that publicly after the purchase. 2 months before the Series X and S were coming out, they announced that and they said that this was about, out of Phil Spencer's own mouth, that this was about bringing exclusive games, sort of the implication being to counteract, to be comparable to complement PlayStation's own assortment of exclusive titles, which they could not match in the Xbox One era. The Xbox One era got Sunset Overdrive, Rise Son of Rome,
Mhm.
Dead Rising, and like a couple others, Halo 5 that like didn't matter compared to the swath of I mean PS4 crushed them on
Yeah.
exclusives. It was insane. And so here I am trying to make this personal so that you can like maybe understand what it's like for people who are really affected by this in a negative way. Again, it's not about me not wanting other people to be able to play these games. Me who was never invested in the Xbox ecosystem. Never. I didn't own an Xbox 360. I picked one up on Black Friday for like $50, like I don't know, in 2018 or something crazy like that. Just, for whatever. I want to play through Halo 3 campaign finally or whatever because I'm not a PC guy. So I really never had an Xbox. I was never invested in that ecosystem and I didn't have a one. I had a PlayStation 4. And so now it comes the time where it's like, do I double down with PlayStation or do I go into the Xbox ecosystem? It's a big decision. It's going to be a $500 console, and I have to decide. And then that's going to be the platform where I have all my games. I've already bought a bunch of games on PlayStation, so I'm inclined to stay with there. But I really love the Elder Scrolls franchise, and I really want to play Starfield. Honestly, maybe Bethesda games are more important to me than Last of Us and Horizon, Forbidden West. We didn't know the subtitle yet, and
Bless you.
the slate of PlayStation exclusives. And now they're saying I've got to pick. Yes, they're saying it's going to be case by cases for case by case basis for exclusivity, but the implication being, hey, we didn't spend what was it, billion? I don't know how much money they spent.
Bethesda.
$7 billion on
Yeah.
Bethesda to let the games go everywhere. That was the discussion, and Phil heavily implied that.
Mhm.
Their executive team heavily implied that they made this purchase for a reason. It was for the gamers, for the community of Xbox. They're like, here, we're gonna do it. We're gonna fight the good fight. Get behind us. Come and buy this new console. That's what they really meant. Come give us your money. And so the value proposition of the marketing for PlayStation in the Jim Ryan era, and that being very business focused, them kind of resting on their laurels, not really trying to, appeal to me, the gamer, just saying, oh, well, you're going to buy it anyway, right? We're PlayStation, versus what Xbox was saying, and them saying, hey, we're going to have to lock away Hellblade and the Indiana Jones game you don't know about yet, and the Blade game that you don't know about yet, and Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, because we want to compete for you guys. We want to be a worthy alternative in the market to keep that competition up. That's what we're going to do. They told me that. So I went out and bought a $500 console. Not only that, I subbed the Game Pass for 3 years up front and have maintained that pretty far out in advance because I think it's a good service. And I rebought probably like $300 or more worth of games that I had on PlayStation because I'm like, okay, I'm moving my library over to Xbox. And they're
Mhm.
like, the games are coming. Fable's coming. Halo Infinite's going to be dope. We're going to have all these Bethesda exclusives. It's all coming. I keep comparing it to this South Park episode where George R. Martin's like, the dragons are coming. No, they're coming. Like that's like it's just like it's far off and away. We keep promising it, and we're and I put all that money in. I rebought a bunch of my games. The Witcher, I rebought it. The like a bunch of games, I rebought them so I could. Red Dead Redemption 2, I rebought it so I could have it on Xbox. I'm going forward with Xbox. I said I'm not buying a PlayStation 5. I'm moving over to Xbox. I like what they're doing. I'm gonna go all in on Xbox. I think that's the ecosystem that I want to be in. I'm buying what Phil is pitching. And then 3 years. It's been 3 years, and I was like basically forced to go out and buy a PlayStation because like I'm looking at like the games that they're putting out and the games that are gonna come out, like a Death Stranding 2, like a Rise of the Ronin, the Final Fantasy remakes, and like all these games that PlayStation has, Xbox has had nothing. They've had Redfall and
He's
nothing.
so
Sure,
mad.
Starfield is not going to be exclusive. Indiana Jones is not going to be exclusive. Hellblade is probably not going to be exclusive. Sure, maybe Halo Infinite stays, but that game didn't deliver.
No,
That game
Halo
was
Infinite,
a terrible flop.
I think
So
should go to PlayStation.
what the hell is it? What the hell? How am I supposed to feel? Like you had me buy in on a false premise, on a lie, where I probably spent $800 or more. I forgot about the freaking the terabyte storage. So that's $750 for the console, plus rebuying probably $200 to $300 worth of games to move my library over
Oh my
because they're
gosh.
telling me that that's a good idea.
That's why
Only
you just stick with
for
PC.
Phil to come out and say on Kind of Funny Xcast, oh, well, we don't expect anybody to move their library over. I did that. I did that because you told me to. Because you got up on a stage and you said, believe in us and invest
Believe
in us.
in us.
So I paid my money, and then 2 years on, 2.5 years on, I feel like a bleeping idiot because I'm like, you know what? I got to go out and get a PS5 because I want to play God of War Ragnarok and I want to play good games. I want to play Spider-Man. And you know what Xbox has got? Jack shit is what they've got. They don't have anything at all. And now they're telling me that
Oh
the
my
stuff that
gosh.
the Fable and all that stuff that they were like, oh, it's coming down the line. Look at all the great stuff we got for you. Look at all the great stuff we got for Xbox gamers. They're telling me now that all that I could have just bought a PlayStation 5. I could just bought a PlayStation 5 for $500, not had to move my library over, not had to invest in any of that. I didn't need Game Pass. Sure, it's great that I could play those games, but I didn't need it. I could sub to PlayStation Plus and play those games 6 months later. It's fine. Like, I mean, like, there's so much money that I've invested in this ecosystem because of the lies that they told me. It doesn't help me, Ginger, that you knew 10 years ago. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help the community that they lied to. Like, I could have stayed in the PlayStation ecosystem, never gave them a dime, but they told me that it was worth the investment. They directly said, you will get return on this investment if you believe in us. And this is a betrayal of the highest order. That's why Tim Dog is done. That's why everybody on Twitter that is known for supporting Xbox, Jez Corden, they're all done. Like, there's no coming back from this. Like, people are literally saying, and I'm with them. I was literally looking at the Xbox store the other day, looking at sales, looking at like, is there anything that I want to get? Like, I was looking at Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 packaged together, $25, pretty good deal for 2 games, 2 brand new remakes. I was thinking about buying it on Xbox. You think I'm going to buy that on Xbox now? Absolutely not. You think I'm going to buy anything on Xbox now,
Nope.
knowing that I'm not going to have the next Xbox, that I'm definitely going to have a PlayStation 6? Hell no. Like, they literally just made my Xbox Series X a glorified Xbox One X, because it ain't got any new games on it that I need the console for. It's literally just so I can play Forza Horizon and stuff from years past, and I can play the stuff that they did FPS boost. Like, that's all great and everything. That I've got FPS boost, and I've got Xbox One enhancements, and I've got all these like
Yeah.
great things they're doing for game preservation.
For me, it
But
didn't
as
really matter
Proto
which
Rock said
console.
last
However,
night to you and me, J Dub, like, that's all in
the
the
uh,
past.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to be gaming now?
the
And like Paul
controller
Tassi said it on Twitter, like, this is
is
embarrassing.
huge
Like, this is embarrassing for Microsoft and
for me.
Xbox to do this. Like, they look ridiculous. I mean, they have literally completely negated the value of their entire ecosystem, and have spat in the face, made a laughingstock of the people that have spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars investing into their ecosystem, building up a library in that, to basically say you'll be better off you go play on the other box, because you'll be getting the games that they have that they won't let us have, like Final Fantasy and everything else, and you'll get our games too. So why the hell did I buy an Xbox? There's no reason for me to have one whatsoever. And like, I don't have extra money lying around. Like, I could have paid my rent 2 months with all that money. I could have paid three months of my car insurance. I mean, that's ridiculous. So like, I don't know if it's a privilege issue, and people that got money to buy a PC and an Xbox and a PlayStation and everything else, they don't care about this because, oh well, I like having Game Pass and I can play the games where I want to, whatever. For people who with money is tight and it matters, I'm pissed that I had to go out and buy a PlayStation after I bought into Xbox, because Xbox didn't give me any good value off of that investment. And then they said, well, stick with us, stick with us, stick with us. And now you come out and do this. You literally just went back on everything that you promised. Everything that you promised. Like, you have delivered nothing. Absolutely nothing for me. And that's insulting. And that's why we the Xbox people out there, we feel disgusted. We feel gross. Like, can you just conceive of what it would take for someone like Tim Dog to scrub his entire Twitter profile of anything Xbox related? He said he doesn't even want to talk to anybody at Xbox right now. I mean, this is bizarro land. I mean, I've never seen corporate self-sabotage of this level in the gaming industry. I guess, I mean, I don't even think Sega was like this. Sega tried, and they just couldn't make it work. They couldn't make it happen. It was a timing issue and a production issue, and a lot of things at play. And Nintendo caught on fire at the right time. PlayStation caught on fire at the right time. They just didn't have it. This is just Xbox like taking themselves out back and shooting themselves in the head. Like, this is insane. They just made their entire player base overnight not want to buy another game on their platform. It is ridiculous. All right, I will shut up now and let y'all talk.
No, I really am glad that we got to see my thought process 10 years ago right now here in real time.
But that doesn't help anybody that you already went through this.
I can't time travel, and I can't help that people ignored my messaging.
But you can empathize with them now, even if they didn't listen to you. It doesn't have to be an "I told you so" moment.
It's totally an "I told you so" moment.
He's too far gone from way back then when he went through that.
And it's perfectly reasonable how you feel, but I cannot pretend that I feel that now. And so it's like when it's all said and done, yeah, there isn't a reason to do that, and I would say that they lied. Yeah, like they in their marketing, not directly because they were specifically vague. That in and of itself was, I was like, I'm concerned. I don't like how they're wording things. I want them to be more succinct. I want them to be more clear. And I think that is absolutely valid. The thing that is like, Tim Dog, you like the world as they process this shift in the gaming landscape, there's going to be that anger. That's the first thing that happens whenever this information is brought on. And then eventually that transitions into acceptance, and then like, oh, this is actually working out better for me as a gamer, like Vet Cloud says, because if you're still buying like Xbox games on other platforms, that's still a win for Microsoft, and it gives them the ability to do so much more. They have so much more leverage now, especially with the ABK deal.
I
that it
disagree.
just
I
gives them more
disagree. I'm
leverage.
gonna push back on that, Brian,
Go
because
ahead.
it's exactly what Phil said in court, where he said when we sell our games, he got asked this by the judge. The judge said, "Why would you not let some games go to PlayStation? Because you've said publicly that it's going to be a case by case basis. Why are we here? Why is PlayStation saying that you're not going to let games go on their platform? What is the incentive there? Because we have emails that we're looking at where you're conversing with Matt Booty saying, no, Minecraft's fine, but we shouldn't let other games go over there. It's not a good strategy for us. Why is that the case?" And he laid it out. He said, when we sell our games on PlayStation, they get a 30% or more cut from those sales. And then
Mhm.
what do? They take that money and
Use
go
it
use
against
it
us.
to pay Square Enix to sign a deal so that we can't get their games. So, no, that's just patently not true. It will not give them leverage. It is the opposite of giving them leverage. It makes them lose their leverage. Their only leverage was to. It's exactly what I said to you and Alex, Brian. I said, as good as Indiana Jones looks, they better hold on to that for dear life and never let it go to PlayStation. And literally, like 2 weeks later, it comes out from Tom Warren that it's going to go to PlayStation. They have no leverage. They're cooked.
Yeah.
They're done.
No, it's
Like,
the
there's
leverage that
nothing
you
left to
have with
talk about.
Sony. Yeah, no, there is, because you are and a lot of people are still locked into this hardware mindset. The future isn't hardware driven. And this has been, and this is me continue. Like,
That's
if you guys are like in 10 years, like, I wish I listened to Brian 10 years ago. Listen right now. The future isn't hardware. The future isn't mobile. The future isn't cloud. The future is just all of that.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
an
20.
existence.
I'll be honest, that's like 20 years, 30. We don't know what, right? We don't know what's going to be in the future. We're in the now. We're in the next 5 to 10 years. And if you look at Sony, if you look at Nintendo, these guys have a new console that's coming out this year.
Mhm.
And they're making money hand over fist. They're selling their hardware even more than their predecessor. So when that trajectory is going like this for Nintendo and Sony, but it's like this for Xbox, and you're saying, well, the whole industry, it's like, no, Xbox is going in that way. Nintendo and Sony going to do what they have did for the last 30, 40
Ninte-
years. And that's
Nintendo, let's
continue doing.
separate them out from this conversation slightly, because they're the only platform that makes money by selling the platform.
That's not
Sony and
true.
Microsoft, they do.
No,
They make money on the sale of the
Sony
Switch
makes money off of their PS5 within
right
the
now.
first year. Yes, within the first year, they put out a statement like 6 months after launch saying we're now, and I'll send it to you just so you'll know. I'm not making this up. Saying that
Oh yeah, no, I
they're
believe you.
now profitable on their hardware. And each revision they had, like Porter Rock said before, each revision of their console, even though it's slightly like sometimes the internals are change and stuff, and you kind of never know.
Come on,
But
man. Where's the blessing
each
at?
one of those revisions is
You kidding me
a
right now?
price change because components get cheaper all the time. So they're putting after
Okay.
there's a price drop, they put the components in there, and that's just
Like,
even more money that
what the
they're
heck?
making on
Then
there. And guess what?
I
They
stand
take
corrected.
that money
The
and
question.
they're investing in the PlayStation Portal, a
Mhm.
new
There's so
PlayStation
many
Portal, and
blessings
a
dropped
native
earlier.
handheld,
Now there's
a
none.
PSVR, and the headsets, the earbuds, and everything else. All
Crazy.
of that comes from the PS5. It's surrounding the PS5. PlayStation is not going anywhere. They're doubling, tripling, and
That
quadrupling down.
I'm not
You're going to
stating
get a
that they're
PlayStation
going away.
6, a PlayStation 7,
Right.
PlayStation 8, and on. This is, fortunately, I guess, fortunately and unfortunately for Sony, PlayStation is their bread and butter. So they have no choice but to do what they're doing, right? They can't just say, hey, we're going to let the console go away. No, they have no choice. This is it. They need you buying a PlayStation 5. They don't want you going anywhere else. They don't want you going to Nintendo. They don't want you going to PC. They don't want you going to Xbox. So at this point, Sony's looking like, well, if Microsoft gets out of the hardware business, a lot of their gamers are going to come over to us. And guess what? We'll nurture their games. We'll host their Halos, the Gears and Forzas in their games. Why not? Now these guys are over here. They're gonna sign up for PlayStation Plus. They're gonna buy some earbuds. They're going to, buy VR and other stuff. This is you're giving the competition. You're basically giving up, like what Kurt said. They've literally given up. And I understand what you're saying. In the future, in some Future, I don't know. It won't be the
I'm
near
not
future.
saying
Some
consoles are
future.
going away and or hardware is going away. I
Yeah.
know that it's like that's a tricky thing that I'm definitely not elegant at in speaking.
Yeah.
I'm saying the future is not those things because those things will continue to exist, but they're not going to be the be all end all. And so, to your point with PlayStation, hey, I believe you. I stand corrected. So let's put. I don't think Microsoft is making money on the sell of the Xbox, console.
No, they
Which
don't. They
right.
they, they
So
in over
they,
24 years
right.
of their existence, they
Right.
haven't made a dime on the
But
actual.
PlayStation is going to have a cloud offering and a PC offering, right? So when it says that is that
They
it's
already have
actually
it. They
right,
Sony started now with
and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get better so that the gamer, whether it's Kirk or you or me, like you're going to end up having way more choice. If you want to invest in a
Hmm.
console, then there's an option, and yes, I would say the PS5, the console to buy. This is the console to buy if you're going to buy a console. Then you shift into that and go and saying like, well, if you end up having the ability to have a gaming PC, well, guess what? You're not cut off, right? We've seen so much hardware innovation because of the removal of exclusivity. And this is the Rogue Ally, this is the Steam Deck, this
Still
is the Logitech G
no
Cloud within the
buff.
handheld space, which was
Are you
formerly
kidding me?
dominated by Nintendo. You could not release a handheld and
What
find
the
any
heck?
success. Ask Sega. Like
RNG's is
they're
so
like, yes,
terrible.
you would have some niche success. You'd have some
They're
people who are
PCs
fans of.
though. Those handhelds are just PCs.
They are just
They're
PCs, right?
laptops. That's all
Right.
they are.
But
So
meaning that it's
is
that
that
they can exist because
oh they
they're not
can
like
they
because they
can
now have to sell themselves on
they
like,
can.
oh, this is the only place that you can play this game, which was and is the current, especially Square PlayStation model.
Yeah. So let's say this right. Nintendo Switch has sold over 135 million Nintendo Switches.
Hmm.
If you add up the ROG Ally, which I own, the Logitech G Cloud that I own, the the Steam Deck, which I own, and the new Lenovo handheld or whatever, I don't have that one. If you add those up, right, the combination of those sales may be maybe 2 million, right?
Yeah.
They're not making any massive dent. They're just extensions. I mean, they're just piece. They're basically mobile PCs.
Right.
There's not this massive fluctuation of people. I'm buying this in any massive drop. It's not. It's just not compared to Nintendo for various reasons. The reason because Nintendo has exclusives. It's an exclusive thing.
Yeah.
PlayStation. Sure, they could have made their PlayStation Portal where it does this with PC and Android and all this stuff. But guess what? Yeah, matter of fact, you're the one that asked me. You say, "Hey,
Yeah. I said,
can
hey,
you do GFN on that thing?" And I was like, "No." Guess what?
oh
You
man,
need a PS5.
and well,
You
see,
need
I
a
have a I
PS5.
have a PS5, and I was like, oh, if I could do GFN on the portal,
Mm.
that's actually much more preference because
Nope.
like the PlayStation controller is fantastic, especially the five. Like they've
It would be
continued
great.
to
It
iterate
would be
on these
great
things.
if you could do that. But you know what? Sony, again, just like Nintendo, and just like Apple, believes why would I give people another reason to go somewhere else? We
Yeah.
want you here. So this is going to be an extension of your
And
PS5.
Xbox believes the opposite.
And
Yeah.
Xbox believe everybody else is. And I even heard people out there talking about, well, the new Xbox, they're just going to outsource and let everybody make an Xbox. So you'll have Lenovo making an Xbox. And
That's
I'm
just a
thinking to
Steam
myself,
box. That's just a Steam box.
I'm thinking to myself, who in their right mind would invest in a piece of hardware that they have to share with a bunch of other manufacturers that the gamers don't even want to buy its own hardware that's proprietary right now? Like that's a dead call. That's a crazy investment. Who would do that? Like who would
Paul Tassi needs to be stopped.
yeah, like come on.
He posts. He says the year is 2025, and I'm consulting a spreadsheet 2 pages long to figure out which games are or are not currently Xbox exclusive.
How do I not? How has a buff still not happened?
We
Hey,
are proud to
What?
announce all Xbox original titles are coming to our friends at PlayStation, except for Redfall. They didn't want that one.
we do have a little breaking news. It's finally confirmed that the next Halo is going to be multi-platform, and this
Are
is
you serious?
on
That's
Microsoft
out.
website. Yeah,
No, no shot, dude.
This is happening,
Oh
Kirk.
my
shut up.
This
god.
is happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
I mean, that great. Fantastic. I was really worried that Phil was going to come out today and say this is not happening yet. This is not an official decision. Like we're still doing case by case, like some mumbo jumbo that lets them straddle that neutrality line. If they're committing to this, great, fantastic. Because I'll do my Paul Tassi spreadsheet. That's fine. I'll do my spreadsheet and I'll buy my PS6. And when the game comes on PS6, I'll buy it. Because I don't want to do this half in out. I don't know whatever. Like so now I know. Like if I can play Halo on the PlayStation, I'm just gonna have a PlayStation, and that's what I'll have. I don't maybe I'll get a Switch as well, but like I don't need an Xbox anymore. Like that's why this is insane. It's like I Ginger, I don't know if you believe that people are not going to have the box, but they're still going to be involved in the ecosystem. But I don't. I think that's wrong. And I think a lot of people think that's wrong. And hey, you're Nostradamus, so you might know better than us. But what I'm saying is they just told everybody you don't need our box anymore and you don't need to be involved with us anymore. And like at that point, Game Pass just becomes Netflix, Paramount Plus, Max, Peacock, all that. And guess what? When people feel like they can get off those and stop paying that money, they jump at the chance to do that. If they ain't got a show that they're watching right now on one of those, if they don't have a reason to be on one of those right now, and the data backs this up, that's why Paramount and Peacock got exclusive NFL playoff games because that's the only way they can get people to subscribe. They can't keep people because as soon as they're done watching the show that was on that season, that was the only reason they got the subscription in the first place, they cancel it because they don't want to be on that. So as soon as I can go to PlayStation and play my Starfield and play my Halo and play everything, I don't need Xbox Game Pass anymore. It's not convenient enough for me to shell out $15 to $17 a month for that service when I have a console and I can just drop money on sales on the PlayStation
The games
store,
that you want,
or
right?
or I can go buy discs hopefully for one more generation
Yeah.
from GameStop or on eBay or wherever, and I own it. Then it's mine, and we can get it. Oh, it's really a license or whatever. But like, at least it's not a subscription model, and so like
Yeah.
there's I mean
Not
they have
bad.
literally decisively told me you don't need
I
to
would
do
have got
this
more
anymore,
trash if
Brian.
I
You
got
don't
another
need
buff that
to
lasts
f with us
15
anymore.
minutes.
You're good. You can just
I only
cut
got
clear.
two
You're
buffs
good to go.
that
And
time.
like it's gonna be a
Stupid.
mass exodus. I mean, I think a lot of us are bought in to like I'm bought in for to Game Pass for like 2 more years because I do like the Black Friday when the
Deal.
cards are like what they used to cost basically.
Yeah.
So I'm like bought in for 2 more years. But let me tell you what, if I was paying month to month for Game Pass, I mean when I roll credits on Hellblade 2, I'd be canceling it. As soon as I rolled credits on Hellblade 2 in May, my Game Pass subscription would be over, and I would not be resubscribing because I know that all the games are going to eventually come to PlayStation. And why do I want
So I got
and the footage in the
20,
background is my Starfield playthrough
5,
when I
8,
first started playing the game, checking it out in
6,
4K. Like I've got 30 hours in that game. I'm gonna have to restart that now on
183,
PlayStation 5 because I want to be able to have my save that it will inevitably
157,
have 120 hours or whatever of Bethesda
15,
RPG goodness on the PS6 and in the PlayStation ecosystem because there is no
22.
Xbox
Dang,
ecosystem.
22
They
of
No,
just
these.
told
there's
me
going to
that.
be there's still going
But
to be
there
an Xbox
isn't though.
ecosystem
Like
because
it's not
PlayStation is now
appealing.
part of the Xbox ecosystem. That's what this move is.
Right, but the
17,
save is how? So what? I'm gonna
15
be
of
able to bring
those.
my
That's pretty
save
good.
over to PlayStation? That's not gonna happen.
It's just the reality of
It
what it
doesn't
is.
mean anything. Just because you
131
say
No, I
something
don't
is
say it.
part of
That's what Microsoft is saying. That's
yeah.
what Phil says. They count Steam Deck. They count PlayStation. They count all of this
to
as a part of their
26,
ecosystem.
But
And as long as you're
131.
engaging with their
yeah.
ecosystem, that's what they want. And that's what they've said very clearly to me.
Okay, so this is what it is. They've only said these things when they were in a position when they were not in a favorable position, right?
So
That
971
was their
million.
way of coping
Pretty
and
good.
trying to get us
I definitely
to,
probably would hit that 1 bill mark
you know,
if I was
these
able to
guys
get
are
another
good at
buff
words to
for the
where
last
they give
15
you talking
minutes.
points. They
But
give you the
oh
talking
well.
points. For example, I
Yeah, I only
remember
got
they
2
said,
buffs that round.
what was this? There was this one saying that I always kind of tease Phil Spencer about, and you always put these buzzwords out, and then so people rally behind that, and they go out in the public and they speak this, but then behind the scene you're doing something different. And when that for the user, exclusives matter until they didn't have exclusives, right? And then it became about user engagements until they didn't have the user
Right.
engagements. And then they changed that into it's about the ecosystem until they realized nobody was doing that. And they'll always find some kind of other way to spend it. That's why I see it for what it is as a gamer. How does it fit with me? How does it resonate with my friends and fans?
All right. Thanks for hanging out, YouTube. Hope y'all have a good night. Peace, peace.